We wouldn't call the environment at James H. Hilton Coliseum magical if there wasn't anything extraordinary about it. As evidenced by the Cyclone men's comeback win against BYU on Wednesday, Hilton magic is still ever present even in Iowa State's best years. Not only did our boys come back from a double-digit deficit, though, they also made history, completing the first undefeated season at home since the 2000 to 2001 season, a season that me and Blake were not yet alive for. That season was so long ago, in fact, that Iowa State played D1 baseball the summer before it. Cyclone Nation packed the house for this game, creating what may have been the loudest environment that I have ever gotten to witness there, even putting our recent home wins against Kansas, Iowa, and Texas to shame. It was a fantastic send-off for our seniors, and there was just enough adversity in the game to get our team locked in before the regular season finale at Bramlage Coliseum tomorrow. Today is Friday, March 8th. I'm Matt Menson, and welcome to the Cornfield Sports Pod. As always, we got Blake on the mic next to me over here.
Dude, Kansas State is going to be a good one. All right.
Kansas State is going to be a good one. It's going to be a great win. We're going to go into Bramlage Coliseum and mop the floor with them in the Octagon of Doom, and I'm going to enjoy it very much. Yeah, Kansas State, they completely fell off, though, since they played in Hilton Coliseum.
We broke them. We absolutely broke them.
We completely broke them. They went from being a team that was on the cusp of being ranked, almost a lock for the tournament, to almost certainly being out of the tournament now unless they get an auto bid, which would require them to win the Big 12 tournament, which almost certainly is not going to happen. So I think it's fairly safe to say, Kansas State, your season's done, or maybe NIT.
NIT.
But yeah, they can put another NIT banner.
When was
in Bramlage Coliseum?
But an NIT banner. When was the last time we saw an NIT?
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah,
it's been a hot minute. But yeah, that's what we got coming up here. But in the previous week, we got plenty of ball to talk about. Win versus UCF last Saturday. Ugly game. Low scoring, high defensive battle. Not a lot of good shooting in this one. At one point, we were down 49 to 50. And then UCF decided that they were going to slap the floor.
Would you think they were Donkey Kong?
Well, I don't know what the idea behind this was.
Well,
but it certainly didn't help them.
Well, big mistake on them. Yeah, exactly.
Because we followed it up with an 11-0 run. So, I don't know, but I guess something about it just like awakens an animal spirit or something within our guys, because they came in and then they started hitting most of their shots, and they completely shut UCF down. UCF only made one basket from the floor for the rest of the game. And you know what? Afterward, we went from being concerned about whether or not we were even going to win the game to covering within the span of 4 minutes.
Good teams win.
Great teams cover.
We are both.
It's true. We do both. So we're good and great. So, add that together and, well, math.
Well,
that's how that works.
Trey King had a good game this one. This was a good Trey King game. He had 16 on the board, and then Momcilovic and Curtis Jones followed up with 11 each.
Curtis Jones is a sixth man of the year, man.
He is.
And if you don't look at it after that game and after everything else that's come before, wait till we take a closer look at BYU here.
Yes.
But yeah. You want to get into this Trey King quote here?
Yeah, Trey King followed up with pretty much how they came back or just stayed alive in like this UCF battle. He says, quote, "We call it winning time. Something we practice every day is the last 4 minutes, regardless of whether we are up or down or having a good shooting night or a bad shooting night, because that's the name of the game. Because at that time, anything can happen. We pride ourselves on continuing to get get stops those last 4 minutes," end quote.
And I like that mentality, because then regardless of how you played the game, you're not letting it influence you.
Exactly.
Which, granted, to some extent, there is some level of influence that's going to happen, but that should be with the coach and not with the players. Just have your players go out there and play the best ball that they can play. And that's what they were doing, and, get yourself the biggest margin in that last 4 minutes. And if you give yourself a good margin in the last 4 minutes, then you're going to be likely to win games. Because the only way you're not, if you have a very good margin in the last 4 minutes, the only way you're going to lose a game is if you were completely being outclassed for the rest of the game. So yeah, you can win a game in the last 4 minutes, and Iowa State did that. And they did the same thing against BYU as well. So, you want to get Coach Dawkins' quote here, though, before we move on to BYU here?
Yeah, Coach Dawkins with UCF, he definitely sees what our guys can do. He says, quote, they make it difficult on every possession you have in the half court. I thought we had our looks. We just didn't knock them down in the last 4-minute segment. Part of that is the wear and tear they put on you in the 36 minutes prior to that. They wear you down, end quote.
And if ever there was a testament to what TJ Otzelberger coached basketball teams do, that's an accurate statement, because that doesn't just describe our team this year. That describes our team from the previous 2 years as well. Even though they weren't as strong on that offensive end before this year, I mean, that defense just destroys you. It bears down on you, tires you out, wears you down. So yeah, it's a testament to what TJ's been doing this entire year, and the other coaches know it, and they're scared of it. So,
and Coach Dawkins got that first taste of it.
Yep, that was his first taste of it. Welcome to the Big 12. We're not gonna let up on you. No mercy.
Speaking of welcome to the Big 12.
Yeah, another newcomer to the Big 12 took an L to Iowa State. The Brigham Young Cougars lost to Iowa State at Hilton Coliseum on Wednesday night, 68-63. Iowa State was down 12 points, and it was either 12 or 14. 12 or 14. Either way, it was double digits, significant lead that BYU had early in the second half. But Iowa State, comeback kings. Hilton magic is a very real thing.
If you're not active on Twitter, then like you're not going to see all the Hilton magic.
It's Hilton magic. There is really something special about that, and they were talking specifically on one of the BYU message boards about how the way our student section is laid out, where we have it at opposite ends, it creates this surrounding noise as opposed to just coming from one direction that makes it even harder for the other teams to hear and to do anything, in the huddle and the timeouts. Makes it harder for the other team to coach. So they found that to be particularly incredible at Hilton Coliseum, and just how effective our crowd was at limiting BYU's effect late in the game. When we got to crunch time, they had a ton of respect for us, and I mean, some of BYU's personnel came up to us and told us, we had the best student section they've seen, which was really quite the accolade to get.
Like, I only thought it was like the Big 12. It's like you have the best student section like the Big 12. I thought it was like just that.
Well, you're gonna find better ones outside the Big 12.
Well,
I mean, I guess you could make an argument for like North Carolina, but when was the last time BYU played there? So, I guess I don't know. Neville Arena's got some good ones down at Auburn, but they get pretty wild too. But even then, I don't know how you can compare to what the students are like here at Hilton Coliseum. I mean, you compare us side by side to the other fan bases, even in the Big 12, though. I mean, the stereotypical one that everyone's going to think of is Kansas over at Allen Fieldhouse. But, I mean, when we camp out for games, we do it outside in the harsh conditions. We're dedicated enough to do that. Meanwhile, their students are camping indoors.
Do better.
So it's a testament to how much we care about ball here, and it's something special. And that translates to crowd noise inside Hilton Coliseum, and it severely limits the abilities of the other teams. And that's translated to what is now Iowa State's largest home, or not, I don't know if I should say largest home winning streak. It's our first undefeated home season since the 2001 season, back when Marcus Fizer and Jamal Tinsley were running up and down the court. So, But yeah, the BYU game itself, though, BYU, they couldn't miss a three for a while.
Yeah, especially in that first half.
That first half, they shot the lights out.
Yeah, Richie Saunders, if that's how you say it.
Yes.
He gave BYU a very big cushion at halftime.
Yeah, he did. Saunders gave him a huge cushion. He was, during the first half, made all 6 of his shots, even contested. You just could not get rid of him.
And the star of the comeback was Curtis Jones.
Yes. Yeah, Curtis Jones got this team going. He got us all fired up, put the team on his back for a minute, and it got the whole team going. But I think the biggest statement moment of this game, it has to be Taman Lipsey's 3-pointer that he pulled up from the top of the key. That it didn't initially look like it was going to go in, but it fell back on the front of the rim and down. And then, as this ball is bouncing around on the front of the rim on the bucket here, it's Hilton Coliseum went quiet. Like it got fairly quiet in Hilton Coliseum for a moment, and then when and then when the basket finally fell through, it erupted louder than I think I've ever heard Hilton Coliseum. It got so insanely loud in that moment. Like I was like, are we at hearing damage levels type of stuff?
Well, when I was there, I was like this has to be louder than Kansas.
I didn't think
we could get to that point.
I think it was louder. I've never seen that much energy coming from the upper deck. Usually the upper deck it's hard to get them going because they're a little bit more removed from the action. But they were into it. So it was a good showing. The crowd was loud, rattled BYU, and got us the win. So now it's time to look forward to Iowa State. We show out well in Hilton South, and that's where we're going to be next after this upcoming game against K-State. So it'll be Big 12 tournament time.
I mean, do we go to Kansas State and record their timeout huddles?
No, he's probably going to Jerome Tang's probably going to blame their own players on doing that now, or he'll blame their own people. It's because it's about the only excuses he can come up with now. Him blaming us didn't work, so he's going to have to blame someone else, and the only other people there will be his own people.
Yeah.
Well. So if he hasn't made enough of a fool of himself already since that game, he's got one more chance during the regular season. I think he's got the probably one game in the Big 12 tournament before he gets eliminated, and then maybe one game in the NIT. So 3 games. 3 games that Jerome Tang can, come up with excuses for losing. All right. Women's ball's got some interesting stuff going on right now. First and foremost, Audie Crooks got absolutely robbed.
Yeah, we're not happy.
No,
because the Big 12 this time of year just heavily favors the SEC
bound traitorous Longhorn and Sooner squads. But because it was Booker from Texas that got the Freshman of the Year award, right?
Yeah. And
if you look at their stats side by side, Audie outclasses her in every single one except assists. Audie is across the board better. She's just outright a better player. It's not even a competition.
It's Texas money.
It's the name on the jersey. The name on the jersey. That's what it's about. And then it's another wild thing. And Bill Fennelly not getting Big 12 Coach of the Year in his entire tenure here.
Especially this year of how much he built this program, built these freshmen after all the transfers last year.
Right. And I don't think that the Coach of the Year. There are some people who think that the Coach of the Year award needs to go to either the coach who gets first or second place in the league every year. And I can make that argument because success speaks. But sometimes you also have to look at what you're doing it with, and what you're expected to do. Iowa State was expected to be nothing this year. We had almost all of our talent transfer away, with the exception of Nia Du, Emily Ryan, and then some ladies on the bench, and then rebuilding everything with transfers and incoming freshmen that they're relatively inexperienced as a team. They haven't played together before, and somehow they still earn a double bye in the Big 12 tournament with that 4 seed. So you look at what this team was projected to do versus what they actually did. I don't know how you can look at that and not give Bill Fennelly the most accolades you can possibly think of. Because what he did this year with the resources that he had was absolutely incredible. I don't know any other way to say it.
We are making sure that Bill Fennelly gets a statue inside of Hilton.
Give him a statue. He needs one. Yeah, but in the last week here, they did get a win versus Cincinnati, 76-60, dominant showing.
We started out very dicey. I couldn't really watch much because I had my Saturday festivities.
Yep. But yeah, no, it was a good game for the Cyclones. Good, strong momentum going into the Big 12 tournament. They got the double bye, so they'll be able to rest up a little bit. It's a good place for the ladies to be right now as they head into the first Big 12 women's basketball tournament to be held at the T-Mobile Center.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the first year that it is not at Municipal Auditorium. So
this morning when we were watching Texas Tech versus Baylor, it's like that atmosphere just felt a lot more empty.
Yeah,
there was some Iowa State people in the crowd.
Well, of course there was.
Of course there was.
That doesn't shock anybody.
Nah, we'll show out. We will show out tomorrow. I have no doubt about it.
We'll show out at Hilton South, but I mean, if you're not going to fill up Hilton Coliseum all the way to capacity for a women's game, I struggle to expect Hilton South to be filled up.
Well, yeah. And I expect like obviously like other spectators from other teams to be there.
There will be some, but it's not going to be the same as the Odd was. The Odd was a little bit smaller, more intimate of an environment, and it made a great venue for women's basketball, but it is aging, so it was time for them to go somewhere else, and the only other real option was the T-Mobile Center. So
my biggest hope for this year's Big 12 tournament is like last year I knew it was going when somebody spotted the audio personnel downloading Juicy Wiggle and then they played it.
Yes, that was a thing that happened.
That's my hope this year.
Dude, you know what the T-Mobile Center needs? It needs an NBA team. We get NBA
It's
expansion.
very much fit for one.
Yeah, it is. And Kansas City, to my recollection, they have not had NBA before. They've had NHL go through, if I'm not mistaken, and the NHL team became the Colorado Avalanche. But they haven't had NBA go through Kansas City, and Kansas City is a basketball city, which is kind of crazy. Like Kansas City loves basketball. I shouldn't call them a basketball city. I think I should call them a football city because of the Chiefs.
Royals too.
Well, yeah, but the Royals are less than popular right now.
Yes.
Maybe when they get good again. But Kansas City, my goodness, they love their basketball. The Big 12 basketball tournament is a huge deal down there.
Creates a lot of revenue.
It creates a ton of revenue for the city. It brings in a lot of fans that struggle to make it to other Big 12 games because there isn't a Big 12 team in KC. But it's, my goodness, the people down there love it. The later rounds of the tournament are always sold out every time. And it can be pretty hard to get seats in there, especially, if Iowa State or Kansas runs deep in the tournament and people flock over there, it can be very, very difficult to get tickets for that because, supply and demand will drive prices way up for them. People love to be there for that. But the way I see that city react to the Big 12 conference tournament as a one-time-a-year thing, that you're not spending large amounts of time getting invested in, I would have to think that an NBA team would do very well in Kansas City. So yeah, if the NBA were to do an expansion here, in the near future. Kansas City would be on the short list of cities that I think would make sense to go to, and that and reviving the Seattle Supersonics. So, we also got some very big news from Emily Ryan Blake.
Emily's coming back.
She's coming back. She is returning for year 5. I'm not sure anyone really saw it coming. After with most of the people that she, came up in this program with being gone, but she is going to be, she's going to be leading this team for one more year.
Add her to the list alongside George Condit, one of the most loyal Cyclones ever.
Yeah, it's Emily Ryan is the dictionary definition of loyal, forever true.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough good words to say about Em's dedication to the program, to Iowa State, to her team, to leading the younger players on the roster that are there right now, and just to sticking it out when things were tough after the end of last year. So, not enough good things to say. She made the announcement via Twitter a few days ago. Quote, 4 years wasn't enough. Let's run it back, Cyclone Nation. And then with that, there was a graphic posted that the athletic department had made. But yeah, next game for the ISU women's is at the Big 12 tournament at the T-Mobile Center tomorrow against Baylor. We found out that it was going to be against Baylor a few hours ago. Texas Tech went very cold in that play-in game, which allowed Baylor to pull away in the second half in advance. And this will set up another showdown between Iowa State and former Cyclone Danae Fritz.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
No?
Well, she's not going to play.
She'll get a minute and a half of playing time.
Probably, yes.
They'll put her on the court. They'll put her on her court, but honestly, I'm starting to feel a little bit bad for her because she would have been in a great place here.
She certainly would have.
She almost certainly would have been a starter this year for the entire season. She's a talented player. Like it was tough to see her go, and then the reasoning behind it was just awful. But yeah, no, it's you made a mistake when you left, and I guess when you make a mistake, you reap the consequences of it.
Well,
so
grass always looks greener on the other side.
Well, everything looks greener down at Baylor because they're green.
They are green.
I
was just thinking that.
But nope. The grass was definitely not greener down there. It turns out some of the grass down there, at least at McLean Stadium, isn't even real grass. It's actually artificial turf. But we have real grass up here. So
we also have a better camera angle.
We do have a better camera angle in our arena. What are you doing, Baylor? What is Foster Pavilion? Seriously. Why do I have to watch basketball games from the security cameras in the rafters? No. I don't get airsick, but when I watch a Baylor basketball game, might be a little airsick. But yeah, that'll be how that goes. We're entering the biggest part of the year in terms of wrestling right now too. Big 12 tournament for that as well starts tomorrow. First round will start. Session 1 will start 10 a.m. tomorrow on ESPN Plus, followed by Session 2 later in the day at 5 p.m. Session 3 will be noon Sunday, and the finals will be Sunday at 7:30 on ESPN 2. Our first round matchups have been announced. 125, 6th-seeded Kyson Terrakina will wrestle against Conrad Hendrickson from Oklahoma. At 133 pounds, 2nd-seeded Evan Frost will wrestle against Jace Kolzer, also from Oklahoma. At 141 pounds, top-seeded Anthony Ekamendia will wrestle Garrett Kukin from Air Force. At 149 pounds, top-seeded Casey Swiderski has yet to figure out who he's going to be wrestling against because he got a bye. At 157 pounds, 4th-seeded Cody Chittum will wrestle against Brooks Gable from Air Force. Brooks Gable, by the way, only has 1 win on the season and 17 losses, so this is basically a bye for Cody.
Basically.
At 165 pounds, second-seeded David Carr. It drives me absolutely nuts that he's second-seeded and not top seed when Keegan O'Toole did not even show up to wrestle him. But nevertheless, second-seeded David Carr will be wrestling Mateo De La Pena from Cal Baptist. 174 pounds, second-seeded MJ Gaitan. Listen to that, second-seeded MJ Gaitan. That sounds wonderful. He's a young wrestler, developing very well, and man, is he exciting to watch. But yeah, MJ Gaitan, second seed, and he's got a bye to start. So he's in a good place. At 184 pounds, very stacked division at the Big 12 tournament. Fifth seeded Will Feldkamp has a bye. At 197 pounds, unseeded Julian Broderson will begin against 8th seeded Austin Cooley from West Virginia. And at heavyweight, 2nd seeded Yonger Bastida, who's undefeated, but so is the number 1 seeded guy who Yonger hasn't wrestled, obviously. And Yonger will be wrestling against Xavier Doolin from Northern Colorado. I'm real excited for the possibility that we could get either a Yonger Bastida Zach Elam rematch, or what excites me even more is another battle of undefeateds between Yonger Bastida and Wyatt Hendrickson from Air Force.
Well, I want to see Zach Elam, obviously, so I can see him go up in the air again.
Oh, I want to see Yonger do that to Hendrickson. Give me Bastida versus Hendrickson, and give me Bastida versus Kirkfleet at NCAAs. I want to see it.
I swear, if Yonger pulls that again, what he did with Coach Dresser, I'm gonna kill him. It's like that scared Dresser last time.
Yeah, well, Yonger certainly had his way against Elam. After about a minute into that bout between Yonger and Elam, it kind of looked like Elam gave up. Like he just wasn't there.
It kind of did. Like when you just see him go up in the air, yeah.
It looked like he wasn't even giving his full effort anymore. Like he'd lost hope with the bout.
He bowed down to him.
Yep. But that's we'll be looking at that, and that'll take place over the course of the next 2 days here. Softball, Blake?
We got some Big 12 honors in softball. Angelina Allen gets Big 12 Player of the Week because she had a very great showing with this weekend's Colorado matchups. She had multiple hits. She had multiple RBIs against Northern Colorado.
And she went yard twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did have 2 dingers, too.
That's what going yard twice means.
Well.
You didn't. Never mind. Anyway.
I know baseball.
This is softball.
Oh.
Oh, boy.
Clip that.
Anyway, that's got to become a TikTok now.
But yeah.
Anyway.
Not the best showing with Colorado State. Definitely got swept there. But we did sweep Northern Colorado in the doubleheader.
And then this weekend, we'll be traveling down to top-ranked Oklahoma, who earlier this year lost for the first time in how long?
Ooh.
They lost for the first time in 2 years? 3 years? It's been a hot minute.
They
had 1 loss, and they're like, yeah, Oklahoma's still that good. We're going to leave them as the number 1 ranked team. And if I'm being honest, they're right. Oklahoma's really good.
No. Well, this trip down to Norman, we're gonna sweep the top ranked team, and then we will pull off the biggest upset. We're definitely not.
Oh, I like the confidence, Blake. I like the confidence.
Yeah, what can I say?
High speed winds.
It's been kind of windy this week.
It's been really windy, and there's not much in high speed winds, so it's going to be very high speed.
It will be high speed. Tonight has been a night I've been looking forward to for a little while. This is Cyhawk Gymnastics. So that'll be tonight. I will be coming back in the coming weeks, not next week because we'll be off at spring break. But we'll get back to you with results from there.
And somehow the gymnastics team figured out who I am, even though I've only been to 1 meet. That was bizarre.
Well, after that 1 meet,
yeah, that was when we were camping out for Kansas.
Yeah.
So, but
That's
anyway,
they see you as a loyal son.
well, I am a loyal son.
Yes.
I just don't usually show up for gymnastics because I don't understand the sport very well.
Hey, I didn't either, but I still have fun with it.
Gymnastics is a very confusing sport.
Yeah. What confuses Matt is like the
Scoring.
judge-based
Scoring based on judges. I know it's not technically subjective, but it just feels subjective, and I don't really know what I'm watching anyway.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. They're doing things that I am definitely not capable of doing. That's for sure. It's kind of crazy. All right, that's what we got in the way of collegiate sports. We had a lot to talk about there, and there's going to be plenty to talk about up here in the coming week as well. Once we get done with the Big 12 women's basketball and wrestling tournaments, and as the men's Big 12 tournament gets going. But oddly enough, we actually have an NFL update. So it turned out there was some medical reporting after the wild card Chiefs-Dolphins game. So this game was played at -4 degrees, wind chills of -27, and apparently there were people that were having. Apparently, I think they said it was in the CBS Sports report. It was 83% of people that came to the hospital with frostbite are now being recommended to have amputations from it.
Do you know how many people went to the hospital?
I think it was I don't remember. It wasn't a crazy high number. It was double digits, I think.
It was double digits?
I think it was double digits.
Okay.
But, that's wild that it was so cold. They got such severe frostbite that they had to get that they're having to get amputations. That's nuts. But and some of it makes me wonder, too, if that's more Dolphins fans than Chiefs fans that showed up with the only hoodie they own because they're, from Miami. And they just were not equipped for that kind of weather.
I would expect that. But I just hope to dear God that we don't have to deal with that in Jack Trice.
Yeah, no, we don't need to be dealing with those kind of conditions. And this has started up some calls for the NFL to have a minimum temperature threshold to play games in.
It needs to happen because these conditions clearly weren't safe.
No, they weren't safe. We talked, after this game had happened about Patrick Mahomes' helmet breaking from the cold, and that didn't get caught until an extra play later. So he played he played a play with a broken helmet and didn't even realize it. Which he takes a shot to the head, and that's dangerous. That's really dangerous. So yeah, no, NFL minimum temperature threshold, please. That's what we have to learn from this, just for the safety of your players and your fans. There's not a lot of good reason. You could delay it a couple days if you have to. But yeah, get it over that temperature threshold, because it's not worth it if people are literally losing their limbs. We can't literally be sacrificing an arm and a leg just to play a football game. So
yeah, we did the right thing during the snowpocalypse too. We just urge fans to stay home.
The everything that happened during the snowpocalypse was at least indoors. I mean, because it was because we still had the events, so it was still plenty warm inside Hilton Coliseum. We had wrestling and men's and women's basketball there, but we didn't have people getting frostbite in the game because everything was inside. At that point, it was just a matter of, can you get there or not? And most people decided no, they couldn't. And then you had, crazy people like me who showed up to that wrestling duel along with about 40 other people, and we all got really, really good seats because they didn't even ticket us.
And crazier people like me that walk in the snowpocalypse.
Because you were not smart enough to ask for a ride when I could have given you one.
I prefer not to. I prefer not to drive.
Anyway, we got some more pro sports to talk about here. NBA, we get some actions. The Timberwolves lead in the Western Conference has dropped down to only a half a game. They are only a half a game ahead of the Oklahoma City Thunder right now. But nonetheless, the Timberwolves are still the number one seed in the Western Conference. In the last week here, they're 2-2 with an overtime loss to the Sacramento Kings, a loss in a bizarrely low-scoring game to the Clippers, a win versus the Trailblazers, and a win versus the Pacers at the very end, where Ant-Man had a 44-point game and had the crazy block at the end to seal it.
Dude, I keep watching that, and I'm like,
What a clip.
it was a clip.
But, like, what a clutch moment from Ant.
I was honestly surprised, like there wasn't a call.
Yeah,
Was
I don't think there was. I thought it was clean. But
yeah, it looks clean. But,
I thought it was clean. And the thing is, in the NBA, even if they had called it, you can challenge that down.
Ooh, really?
So, yeah. It's not like college ball where there's no challenges at all. You can challenge fouls down in the NBA. But can we talk for a second? The game against the Trailblazers was the first game since his rookie year that Ant didn't start. And the reason that Ant didn't start it was because he lost track of times doing resistance band warm-ups outside the locker room. And so he wasn't out there during starting lineups. So Minnesota, because he was slated to be a starter, Minnesota had to take a delay of game violation. And then Ant had to check in about 30 seconds into the game. So Ant came off the bench for the stupidest reason. It was funny, but I mean, come on. You got to do better than that.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I'm like, how did he lose track of time? It's like, really?
It certainly made an interesting conversation piece on Monday night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Upcoming for the T-Wolves. Tonight they will be playing at the Cavaliers, and then they will take a trip to LA to play both the Lakers and the Clippers. Oddly enough, all of their upcoming games for this next week are on national broadcasts, so the spotlight is on them. They are in the limelight right now. Tonight and Sunday tonight against the Cavs and Sunday against the Lakers, they will both be on ESPN. Then Tuesday against the Clippers, they'll be on TNT.
Dude, this is like all the pressure on them. I'm like,
It's
hot.
a lot of pressure, but it's. I mean, this is how you generate national media attention when it comes to getting things like postseason awards. What you need for that is media attention. This is a great spot for the Timberwolves to be in. The Milwaukee Bucks in the last week here won at the Bulls. Boo. Won versus the Clippers and then lost at the Warriors, which ended a 6-game Bucks win streak. They finally figured out a formula under Doc Rivers to win some games. And they're back to first in the Central now. They've passed the Cavaliers. They're only half a game ahead of the Cavs, but nonetheless, they are back on top, and they're still the second seed. Or they have returned to being the second seed in the Eastern Conference, and we both know it's a foregone conclusion that the Celtics are going to be on top of the Eastern Conference when this regular season is done. So the Bucks are right now at the top of where they can be before they can get to the playoffs. And then so upcoming for the Bucks here. Tonight they'll be playing at the Lakers on ESPN. Sunday they'll be playing at the Clippers. Tuesday at the Kings. And then Thursday they will return home from their California trip and play the Philadelphia 76ers.
A lot of ESPN coverage for the Lakers recently. So
They're the Lakers. ESPN loves them.
oh, they do.
The ESPN loves the Lakers.
They like LeBron James.
Well, they liked the Lakers before LeBron because the Lakers are one of the biggest national brands.
Mm-hmm.
So. And then the Chicago Bulls here in the last week, like I said before, loss versus the Bucks. Yeah, no, I'm not happy about that, Milwaukee. Don't do that to my Bulls. But then the Bulls followed it up with 3 consecutive road wins. Good place to be. Win at the Kings, win at the Jazz, and win at the Warriors on a little California trip of their own. Things are looking up for them right now. Their postseason gap is widening. They're a full 6 games ahead of the Brooklyn Nets. So it's starting to look like the Bulls might be able to lock in a postseason spot here. And they've nearly clawed back to 500 after being 9 games underwater in November. So since November 28th, I think it is, or it's November 26th to 28th, the Bulls have a winning record. So that's a good place to be in. And honestly, right now, the way the Bulls have been playing, for a play-in game in the NBA or the NBA playoffs, I might actually look at the Bulls to win a play-in game here. That's a good spot.
I could too. If they stay this hot, then yeah.
If they stay as consistent as they have been lately, because they haven't lost 2 games in a row since November. It was after that 6-game losing streak. Since then, they haven't they have lost 2 in a row. They haven't lost 3 in a row. But they have definitely won 3 in a row a few times. So they're consistently doing better than average. But yeah, upcoming here, they're going to continue their road trip. They're going to continue their road trip in California. They will play at the Clippers. This one will be broadcast on NBA TV tomorrow night. Then they will come back home Monday to play the Dallas Mavericks. Wednesday, they'll take a trip to Indianapolis and play the Pacers. Then Thursday, they'll return back to the United Center and have another game against the Clippers. Blake, NHL has been a little bit busy this week with the trade deadline.
Yeah, we got lots of trade stuff going on.
We got a lot to go over with the NHL right now, especially with the Minnesota Wild. They've been busy. The Blues not so much, but the Wild are certainly busy right now with the trades, and that ending about 40 minutes ago, I think.
Ooh, probably.
The Blues trade deadline I think was 40 minutes ago. But the Wild, 30-27-6, 66 points. They're still sitting at 6th in the Central, pretty steadily right there. In the last week, they lost at the Blues, but followed that up with wins against a couple cupcakes and the Sharks and the Coyotes. But the personnel management, that's the big news right now. The first thing, before we get to any of the trades, they did extend defenseman Zach Bogosian to a 2-year, with 2 years, $2.5 million on that, which extends him through, I believe, the 26-27 season. And then as far as the trades go, Brandon DeHaime was dealt to the Colorado Avalanche. The Wild will receive a 2025 third-round pick in exchange. Pat Maroon, who is the Stanley Cup good luck charm, he won 3 consecutive Stanley Cups with the Blues and the Lightning. But he has been dealt to the Boston Bruins, and the Wild are receiving a conditional 2026 6th-round pick. This is probably a good trade for the Wild to be making, considering Pat Maroon is definitely getting up there in age. He's still dependable, 4th-line guy, but he doesn't have the offensive prowess that he used to. So, and then earlier today, Nick Pitton was dealt to the New York Rangers, and in the exchange for that was the Wild receiving Turner Elson from New York. And then, so upcoming for the Wild here, Friday they'll be at the Avalanche. That's today. National broadcast over NHL Network, if you actually have that. What even carry is that other than Fubo and DirecTV? I certainly don't have it on YouTube TV. Sunday, they'll be against the Predators. National broadcast over TNT. That we do have.
Everyone has TNT.
Thank you, TNT. We love TNT. They produce some fantastic broadcasts.
They do.
Especially NBA. The NBA is they're the best, and I mean NHL. I think you can reasonably say they're the best too.
And March Madness, they're also
March Madness. They're the crews that they put together over at TNT are something else. I mean, the NHL side alone, you put Wayne Gretzky on a panel and it's automatically the best. Yeah, I mean that's just what happens when you have the GOAT. And then TNT, you got Shaq, Chuck, and Kevin Harlan over there. So it's something special there over at TNT. Beyond that, Tuesday, they will be at home against the Coyotes, and then Thursday they will host the Ducks. The Chicago Blackhawks, 16 wins, 42 losses, 5 OTLs, 37 points, and their standing is just bad.
Sell the team.
I'm not going to go that far. Maybe hire a new GM. But yeah, no, we've stopped even giving a number in the standings. Just bad. That's all you are.
If any can trash his own Blackhawks last week, then bad.
Yep. But yeah, last week here, a couple more losses. They allowed 5 goals to the Blue Jackets in a 5-2 loss. They allowed 5 goals to the Avalanche in a shutout. And then they, beat up on the Coyotes 5-2 because I guess the Coyotes are a team that even the Blackhawks can beat up on occasionally. Yeah,
And Coyotes, that's embarrassing.
there's a battle between a couple bad teams. The Coyotes aren't good, and it's not like they can get a big, loud environment in Mullet Arena, which we have bashed on a number of times on this show. Trade deadline, they didn't do quite as much as the Wild did. Anthony Beauvillier got dealt to the Predators, and the Blackhawks are going to receive a 4th-round pick later this year for that. But I want to talk about here. So, Blake, have you seen the Blackhawks draft potential that they've got coming up here in the 2024 draft?
No, let's see what we got.
So we got Blackhawks have 9 picks in the 2024 draft. So that's a lot, but 7 picks in the first 3 rounds.
They could bounce back.
Some of that's going to depend on coaching. But when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing that rookies are cheap because they don't have, the high salaries that you have to pay out to free agents. So you can develop a lot of talent at a low cost, and you assume a long-term rebuild of the program. So are they going to be good in the next couple years? Probably not. But they're going to try to build a young team around Bedard that can stick around for a while. It'll be assuming that they make their draft picks well. It will be a very franchise-friendly payroll. It'll allow them to, keep talent around and not have to focus too much on trades. That's assuming they get their picks right, though, and then that's assuming they do development right in the ECHL and the AHL. So, upcoming for the Blackhawks here, Saturday they'll be at the Capitals, Sunday versus the Coyotes on NHL Network. Again, why? Nobody has NHL Network. So you call it a national broadcast and less people see it than, the people that have NBC Sports Chicago. And then Tuesday they'll be against the Ducks. The St. Louis Blues, last week here, split wins and losses. The win versus the Wild that we previously mentioned, they won at the Flyers 2-1 in a shootout, and then they lost at the Islanders 4-2 and lost at the Devils 4-1. So the defense, kind of disappeared for their last couple of games here. At the trade deadline, they made one move. They dealt Malcolm Subban to the Blue Jackets, and they're just going to be receiving future considerations for that at the time being. Upcoming, the Blues are going to continue their East Coast road trip with a game at the Rangers, and then Monday they will be at the Bruins. Wednesday they will return home to play the Los Angeles Kings.
I just looked, and I don't even get the NHL Network with my wonky cable package.
With whatever cable package you have. Yeah. I don't get it with YouTube TV. I think maybe DirecTV and Fubo has it. I don't, because Fubo's got Fubo has anything for sports except TNT. Which, if I'm going to choose between NHL and NHL Network and TNT, I'll take TNT 10 times out of 10.
Exactly.
Actually, let me rephrase that. I'll take TNT 11 times out of 10. Yeah. Generally, the league networks don't produce the best quality content. It's kind of second-rate stuff.
Exactly.
Because, generally speaking, it tends to be below what ESPN and Fox and CBS put out. And definitely in the case of the NBA and NHL, it's certainly below what TNT is putting out. And with MLB, I think you can, because Turner's on TBS instead of TNT for the MLB, but I think that they put out a great product too with the TBS Tuesdays. So, speaking of the MLB, for the Twins, Byron Buxton is finally back. The question is, how long is he going to stay back? And can the Twins as a whole stay healthy? Because the potential for this team is going to be really high if we can have Buxton, Correa, and Royce Lewis all staying healthy. And avoiding too much time off the field. I think if they stay healthy for the better part of the year and are not on the sidelines too much, that the Twins will be almost certainly in competition for, if not a lock, for the AL Central. And then, maybe the Twins got off all right with letting Sonny Gray go in free agency because he's already showing some injury problems with St. Louis. He left his first spring training game with hamstring problems.
Oh my gosh.
So... The Twins might have gotten off lucky, and the Cardinals,
Not so
after all of the action that they took to build up pitching, we're in spring training and it's already beginning to deteriorate. So this might be a rough go for the Cardinals. Follow the Cornfield Sports Pod on Twitter at CSportsPod. Blake, where can they find you at?
They can find me at Blake Attack 1846.
Of course, you can find me at the Menson Minute. Tap the follow button on Spotify, the plus button on Apple, subscribe on YouTube or on Rumble.
This is Blake Peterson.
I'm Matt Menson. Our producer is Vinny Cataldo, and this has been the Cornfield Sports Pod.